This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, how the heck are you? It is the Monty Show. Thursday, July the 14th, 2022, and the Utah Jazz are talking trade with the New York Knicks. Is it true? Will the Jazz trade Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks? We'll have all the details on that. And I think the big question here is, what should the Utah Jazz be asking for in return if, in fact, they do trade Donovan Mitchell? How valuable is Donovan Mitchell to the Utah Jazz? And I guess the other question is, how valuable is Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks? That might be the bigger question. We'll talk about that. Mike Gundy, the head coach at Oklahoma State, is a gangsta, bro. The superstar of Big 12 Media Day, without doubt. Mike Gundy. We'll have sound for you on that. It's National Mac and Cheese Day. What is your favorite food? You're a huge mac and cheese
Hell
guy.
yeah, I am.
You
Who's
are
not?
You are an obsessed mac and cheese guy.
Yeah, who's not? Who's not?
I'm not
I mean,
a huge-
who doesn't like mac and cheese?
Me, I think it sucks.
Well,
That's not true. The Utah Jazz and the New York Knicks are talking trade. Let's get right into it because we know that's what everybody is here to talk about as the Knicks and the Jazz are discussing a Donovan Mitchell trade. Now, obviously, this validates everything that Adrian Wojnarowski reported the other day, that not only are the Jazz listening, they are engaged in trade talks. We told you last night on the old tweet machine that the Knicks have offered the Utah Jazz a minimum of 5 first-round picks and a package of players. This trade, as of 7 o'clock Mountain Time last night, was not close, but it certainly signals that there was, in fact, a change in direction for the Utah Jazz, and they are engaged in talks with the Knicks. And what this trade looks like, as I am told by sources at the Utah Jazz and around the NBA, is that the Jazz are likely to get between 6 and 8 first-round picks in this deal, additional pick swaps, and the biggest question is, will the New York Knicks include R.J. Barrett in a deal for Donovan Mitchell? That seems to be the biggest question here. And I don't know if I am the Utah Jazz, and I could be wrong about this, but if I'm the Utah Jazz, I'm not making this deal without R.J. Barrett. It really is that simple. Emmanuel Quickley is a nice player. Don't get me wrong. But, Jake, I think the Utah Jazz cannot make this Donovan Mitchell trade if they do not get R.J. Barrett in return.
yeah, and I think that, not only R.J. Barrett, I think Quentin Grimes got to be in the conversation as well, and I think that this isn't a situation where, a ton of draft capital, like an over-the-top amount of draft capital, is a substitute for contributors now. And I think that what's really interesting is this concept of the Utah Jazz changing directions, because this is, if everything we're hearing is true and they truly are engaged and trying to trade Don to the Knicks, and they're really exploring this. This is a change in direction, and this kind of changes things for me as well. Like, I think that, last week, based on everything we were being told and everything that everyone was reporting, the Jazz were a hard no against trading Donovan Mitchell, and now all of a sudden we're sitting here on the show talking about, a deal with the Knicks or a 4-team deal including Brooklyn. Like, there's a lot of possibilities. And so, yeah, I don't think that you can do this deal with the Knicks without R.J. Barrett. But somehow, some way, I think that's what the Knicks are offering. And we know, we have it on pretty good information that the Utah Jazz are not interested in Julius Randle, and I can't blame them for that. I don't know that I'd be interested in Julius Randle. So it's just a really interesting time, and I think if you're a Utah Jazz fan, there's a lot up in the air right now. I will say that I don't think that there's a need to be nervous or anxious about this. I just think when it comes down to it, there's clearly been a shift in the plan. And to me, this signals the identity of a rebuild now, whereas when you weren't open to trading Donovan Mitchell, I would call that a retool. So if you are rebuilding, then I guess the question remains, how long is that rebuild going to be? I hope it's sub 5 years. I hope that, with Danny Ainge and their plan that they've clearly got, that this doesn't take 5 years to get to the NBA Finals. I mean, if you're going to trade Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, there's a lot of smoke behind the Mike Conley sign and trade situation with Cleveland. If all these things happen, I would just hope that the team you bring to camp is playoff worthy at some point.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question here is we talk Utah Jazz basketball here on the Monty Show, and the Jazz and the Knicks are engaged in trades. I think there's no doubt. The biggest question is, what are you going to get in return? And I absolutely think R.J. Barrett has to be there, but I think Quickly and Grimes have to be there as well. And the issue is, it was explained to me last night when considering a Knicks and Jazz trade is, how much are the New York Knicks willing to give up to get Donovan Mitchell? Because the question is it worth it to acquire Donovan Mitchell if you have to give up your 3 best young players? And I would tell you, if I'm the Knicks, it's absolutely not. I'm not giving up R.J. Barrett and Quickly and Grimes and 6 to 8 draft picks to get Donovan Mitchell. And likely Rudy Gay would be going in this trade as well. He's a name that I'm told that would need to be added for his salary, because that's the other thing that you got to remember. The guys that you're talking about in this deal are not well paid. I mean, when you look at the numbers we're talking about, R.J. Barrett on his own is only making just short of $11 million. And then when you consider that Cam Reddish, who's another guy, and the players that it was explained to me are R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, Quickly, Grimes, and perhaps Obi Toppin to make the money work. I think that is way too much for the Knicks to give up. So my guess is we're going to get some form of that deal with that grouping of players. Cam Reddish should be a really nice ad for this club. But if it's Quickly and Reddish, I'm not here for that if I'm the Utah Jazz. If it is R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, players, and picks, okay, now we have a conversation. But if you're the Knicks in this scenario, and I think this is a big part of this question, does it make sense to acquire Donovan Mitchell, even 1v1 for R.J. Barrett? I don't think it does. I think it makes it very difficult. If you're the New York Knicks, what's left on your roster without R.J. Barrett is not a whole lot, even if you add Donovan Mitchell. I don't know that they are even comparable players, frankly, but they are a really nice tandem together. You would be acquiring Donovan Mitchell to tag with R.J. Barrett if you're the New York Knicks. But if you are the Utah Jazz, what's the value in this deal? And again, Grimes is a guy that's just really unproven. He's very young. He's one year in the league. Remember, this is a guy that left Kansas to go to Houston. Granted, in his 1 year in the NBA last year, he only played 17 minutes a game. He gave you 6 points. He shot 38% from 3, but that is a really limited scope. So you really don't know what the high end for Grimes is. So you have to get something concrete in return. And my point is on this, if I'm the Utah Jazz, I don't know that it makes sense just to do this deal to get 6 or 8 draft picks. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because also you have to remember, what are you going to send out along with Donovan Mitchell? Is it simply Rudy Gay? It doesn't make sense to include Pat Beverly in this trade. He's making $13 million. And by the way, he's a 1-year deal. He's $13 million 1 year. That is a trade deadline contract if I've ever seen one. So the question has to be asked, what are the New York Knicks going to include, and what are the Utah Jazz willing to accept for Donovan Mitchell and Jake? I think the bar has to be R.J. Barrett, and that very well may be a deal breaker.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that's to me, that's the crux of the conversation. Like, if you're Danny Ainge running this thing for the Utah Jazz, like, what is the needle mover? Because all the other residual is always going to be there. Like, the picks are always going to be there. You know, the fringe players are always going to be there. But what truly makes the deal happen? If this is hinging on R.J. Barrett, then I think that's a pretty tough conversation. You know, I don't know that it happens if this deal is hinged on R.J. Barrett. Now, if Danny Ainge somehow is open to no R.J. Barrett, but is going to require Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly plus the picks, okay, then I think there's a good chance this deal gets done. And in my opinion, what I think of this is if I'm the Knicks, I'm never giving up RJ Barrett. That's just not happening. It's not a conversation. I just can't do it. I'm not doing that. But I think Quickly and Grimes, you have to be willing to part with those guys to get this done. And if I'm the Knicks, I really like the idea, as you were kind of saying, Donovan, RJ, and Julius on the block. I think that's definitely a playoff contending big three, if you will, if you want to call it a big three. But I think that it makes the Knicks, it gives the Knicks that edge. And that's the thing that I think for the Knicks, that's the value proposition if you're the New York Knicks here. Hey, last year, we were a team that was really pushing for the playoffs, and we fell apart. We fell apart in the second half, and we didn't get it done.
Yeah.
But if you bring in Donovan Mitchell, that's not going to happen. Donovan Mitchell brings you that reliability in the scoring department that you don't currently have. And by the way, he would be the guy that has the playoff experience on the team and can help develop a guy like RJ Barrett or otherwise. So to me, if I'm the Knicks, I'm not giving up RJ Barrett. And if I'm Danny Ainge, I probably would be okay with that. But I'd have to have 6-7 picks, and I'd have to have Grimes and
Quickly and Grimes are the starting point of the deal here. I mean, the other thing that we heard last night pretty clearly is that any deal that's centered around Julius Randle is not going to be a deal that the Jazz are willing to make. Mm-hmm. And we told you back at the trade deadline that the Knicks and Jazz were talking, in that the Knicks were calling repeatedly asking for Donovan Mitchell, and the Jazz had turned that down. One of the main reasons I think they probably at that time turned that down is because they weren't ready to make a deal. And I think Julius Randle's a non-starter. I mean, the guy has over $100 million coming to him in the contract he just signed with the Knicks. And I just think he, as a guy, as a character guy, as a locker room guy, there are a lot of doubts about Julius Randle. He's a hell of a basketball player. I just don't think this Jazz organization values him at a high level. So, again, I think this really is going to come down to the New York Knicks' willingness to send RJ Barrett to the Utah Jazz. I think it is going to be that simple. And if I am the Knicks, and again, I was told last night directly the Knicks are not willing to trade RJ Barrett to acquire Donovan Mitchell. And I think that's a smart move by the Knicks. But the other thing you got to remember here is the New York Knicks are in a position where they gave up a hell of a lot at the draft. Mm-hmm. They acquired a hell of a lot at the draft. But this is a roster that is very young and frankly lacks a superstar, because no matter what you think about RJ Barrett, I don't think anybody's going to mistake RJ Barrett as a superstar in this league. Not at this point, not yet. I think RJ Barrett's a guy that's a very good player, but RJ Barrett is not a guy that you build a franchise around. And I think that's why you're trying to make a Donovan Mitchell type move, where you're adding that kind of salary, because you have all this draft capital. And I say this about the Utah Jazz as well. What is all this draft capital worth if you're not going to leverage it? The Knicks are trying to leverage their 11 current picks that they have. They have 11 picks over the next several years. That's leverage. They're trying to make a deal to improve themselves to become relevant. But can they be relevant without RJ Barrett and with Donovan Mitchell? That's a huge question that Leon Rose and the New York Knicks are going to have to answer. But for the Utah Jazz, and from where the Utah Jazz are right now, I would tell you can't make this deal without RJ Barrett. It just, and even if you got 8 picks, let's say, which they're not going to get 8 picks, but let's say you got the maximum amount of picks. Be realistic and say 6 picks. 4 players: Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, Emmanuel Quickly. Are you a better team on the floor in the next 3 years without Donovan Mitchell and without RJ Barrett if you're the Utah Jazz? And Jake, I think the answer is unequivocally no.
Yeah, I think with those names and with those names in the current roster, if this deal were to happen, no, you're not better. But I think what sort of piques my interest about this conversation, or this side of the conversation, is we're talking about Danny Ainge here, right? Like, let's not forget who we're talking about. Danny Ainge has a history of building championship contenders, and I think that the one thing that really sort of makes sense to me is if Danny is going to go this route of trading Donovan Mitchell, which again would be a very strong change in path, but if he decides to go this way and execute a trade with the Knicks, or even if he does the Brooklyn deal with the 4-team deal with Phoenix and Indiana and Brooklyn, either way, my thing just would be, all right, the picks are going to have to be there, because you know Danny Ainge is going to trade some of those players he's going to get. Just like we know that Danny Ainge is going to trade some of those guys that he got in the T-Wolves trade, the Gobert trade. So that's why I say, are they better now if they execute this trade today? Well, no, they're not better now than they were this past season, but I don't think that's the conversation. I think the conversation is, hey, yeah, you're not going to be better this year, but what does the deadline look like? What does next offseason look like as far as building this team? And what is the end goal? And I think if you're, Utah Jazz fan or anybody covering this team, you begin to understand that if they do this, they're going down the path of, 3 to 5 years of building this product. Remember, when Danny Ainge did the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett deal to Brooklyn all those years ago, what did that turn into? Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and how long did that take for them to get traction? And that took them about 4 or 5 years, right? So that's why I'm saying that could be what we're looking at here.
But the bigger question for me also is, how are Utah Jazz fans feeling this morning? And I see everybody commenting on this trade. How much do you trust Danny Ainge?
Mm-hmm.
That's a big question. Because if we're going to go back and we're really going to look at what Danny did with the Brooklyn trade in 2013, it took you 9 years to get to the NBA Finals after that trade.
Yeah.
That's not a timeline that I think most Utah Jazz fans are willing to absorb when you've given up Rudy Gobert and you've given up Donovan Mitchell. You're telling me 9 years down the road you're going to go to the NBA Finals? Nah, I'm fine. I'd rather keep Don and not go to the Finals in 9 years. Like, to me, that's too long.
Yeah.
But in Danny, we trust, right? My point is, if you make this trade with the New York Knicks, I think the Utah Jazz go to the NBA Finals sooner than that. You don't trade both Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell to go to the Finals in 9 years.
Yeah.
That just does not make sense if you're the Utah Jazz. And my point on this is, Donovan Mitchell will bring you a haul. Danny Ainge is not going to tank this team in the long term, in my opinion. We saw that under Dennis Lindsey and Gail Miller, and I just don't think that that's what this organization is right now. I think the Utah Jazz are looking to compete, and they're looking to compete now. And I think if you make this trade, you are going to have the by far largest amount of draft capital that you've had in the last, decade, and you are going to have the most leverage in the NBA if you make this deal. But I think if you're the Utah Jazz and you're a Utah Jazz fan, I think you should have a high level of concern here. Mm-hmm. Because the question that I think you don't want an answer to, are you tanking? Is that what's happening with the Utah Jazz? If they make a Donovan Mitchell trade and it's 6 picks and it's quickly Grimes and Fournier, and are you tanking? I don't know how you say you're not tanking. Right? Because the free agent market is pretty well dried up. So it's not like you're going to turn around and sign a big-time free agent.
Yeah.
There aren't a whole lot of trades to be made at this point because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving seem to still be holding up the market. DeAndre Ayton knows all too well about that. What are the Utah Jazz really looking to do with the assets they acquire? What are the New York Knicks really looking to do with the assets they acquire in a Donovan Mitchell trade? Because the Knicks are going to send out a whole lot, and they're not going to get a whole lot in return. My guess is you're going to get Donovan Mitchell, and you're going to get one other player. And if you're the Utah Jazz, you're probably getting Evan Fournier in this deal because you need his $18 million salary to make this trade work. But does Evan Fournier make you a competitive team? And my feeling is he does not.
Yeah.
And then the question has to be asked, okay, well, to make this trade work salary-wise, you probably are not putting Beasley in there. You're probably not putting Pat Beverly in there. So those guys are going to be on your roster, or some of those guys are going to be on your roster. What are you looking to do with the group of players you have? And how many fans are going to buy season tickets? How many fans are going to buy those snappy new uniforms if it's got Fournier instead of Mitchell on the back of it?
Yeah.
That to me is a huge question.
Yeah.
That to me is what you have to get the answer to. I don't know what the answer on Donovan Mitchell or the Donovan Mitchell trade is.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think that it's just complex, obviously. I mean, I know that's obvious, but I just think there's a lot of ramifications in these situations. I mean, it's not a stretch to say, like, this is where, legacies and memories are made. Like, 2 years from now, if the Jazz have tanked, like, the Ryan Smith era, won't be probably remembered super positively by the fan base. But 2 years from now, if you make this deal and then you make another deal and you've turned into a championship caliber team and it turns out you did make the right choice moving on from Don and Rudy, then, great. But I think right now it's just tough because you don't know what those picks turn into. You don't know the draft. I personally feel like the draft is very unpredictable. Like, unless you're top 5 talent in the draft, you don't know what you're going to get out of Jared Butler. You don't know what you're going to get out of all these guys. And that's the thing. And that's why I hope that whether they trade Don or whether they keep Don, whatever happens, this team needs to make progress. And they need to make progress inside of the next 2 to 3 seasons. So it'll just be really curious to see what path they choose to go.
Very much so. Let's get your comments on the show right now. We appreciate everybody being here. If you're here on the show, please give us a thumbs up below. Just if you're live on YouTube or listening on the podcast, get to YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Find our YouTube channel every day, The Monty Show, Monty. The Monty Show takes you right to our YouTube channel. Please give us a thumbs up right now if you're here watching the show. J-Rod sends us a $5 tip this morning to get us started.
Thank you.
J-Rod, thank you. Josh Martin says this trade will be a big L for Ryan Clark.
Okay, who's Ryan Clark?
Which are you talking about?
Are you
ESPN
talking about
Ryan
ESPN
Clark?
Ryan Clark, yeah. Which
Help
Ryan
me
Clark?
understand that.
Did you mean Ryan Smith? Was that like a typo on accident? Maybe he meant Ryan Smith.
I don't know. Clarify that for us, Josh. Thanks for the tip. Appreciate it. Spencer D says, "Saw dudes."
Saw dude.
What's up, bro? Looking forward to the show. Appreciate that. BB says, without Quentin or RJ, the Jazz should just call someone else. Picks and a star level potential is what the Jazz need, and 5 picks. We were talking yesterday that, people were saying, hey, we need the Jazz are asking for, the Utah Jazz in return for Donovan Mitchell are asking for a replacement level player.
As they should.
I think RJ Barrett's a replacement level player. I mean, I think he is, well, and I should say, I think he's below Don, but I think he's got the potential to be a replacement level player.
But if you're the Utah Jazz, I don't know that that's good enough. Like, I don't know that I'm comfortable trading Donovan Mitchell for someone who has the potential, which I agree. That's how I'd characterize RJ Barrett. Like, he's got the potential, but that's different than, hey, this is a guy who is as good as Donovan Mitchell. That's different.
Are you a better team? Because the other thing I can't see the Knicks doing is trading Quickly and RJ Barrett. That doesn't make any sense at all. So I think it's one of those 2 guys in a deal. Are you a better team if it's Fournier and Quickly and 6 picks?
No.
If it's Fournier and Quickly, let's say they put Grimes in that deal. Let's say they put in somebody else to make a contract work. I'm not interested at all in Obi Toppin. I know that Knick fans love Obi Toppin. He's kind of a folk hero, and I'm not interested in Obi Toppin.
Let me put it this way. You're not a better team after this deal either way, in my opinion. I don't think that even if you did get RJ Barrett and Evan Fournier and a bunch of picks, you're not a better team. Like, you're not. Like, you don't have a 3-time defensive player of the year. You don't have an all-star basically every single year in Donovan Mitchell. Like, you don't, like, I get it. The Jazz team that we all know and love has its flaws, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this show. That said, they were a playoff team every year for, I think, the last 5 years. So they had something. So, no, I don't think after this Knicks trade, either way, you're better. But that, again, I can't emphasize this enough. That's not the conversation. The conversation is, does the Knicks deal, if it happens, put you in a position to go and make another deal that does make you better? What does Danny Ainge do with all these picks? Because don't forget, Danny Ainge has, 6 picks right now?
Yeah.
Before the Knicks thing even happens? I mean, are we talking about Danny Ainge having 15 picks to work with? That's a lot of capital.
Well, and again, I wonder what pick swaps are involved. I wonder, I mean, if you're the Utah Jazz, you can't tell me that you're making this deal with the thought of being bad for years to come.
No way.
I don't see that. I really just don't see that. Let's see. BB says, Monty and Son in the morning. Love the show. Thanks, BB. Appreciate you. He also says, but trade Donovan or not, the jerseys this year are bad. If we are really bad, at least I will not have to watch long.
I mean, how many of you have watched Summer League and been like, damn, these jerseys are a little rough?
The white jersey is not good. The white jersey
I
is
think
not
when
good.
you're watching the white jersey on TV, it just lacks personality. There's no it factor there. Like when you were watching the orange, I can't remember what they call it now, but the orange jersey, the orange faded jersey on TV, you're like, yeah, damn, this got some personality to it. We like this. We like this a lot. Even the yellow and in my opinion, the awful all green one was good on TV. Even though I didn't like that color green, at least it was really good on TV. So I don't know. I'm with you guys. I don't love the new jerseys. That said, they're going to look a lot better when they're being worn in the Western Conference Finals than when they're being worn on a tanking team.
Wow, look at you. Hey, real quick, there is one other thing that was said to me last night that I think is a huge talking point. Jared Butler had another struggle fest from the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And a Utah Jazz source that I was talking to during the game at Summer League was telling me that the Jazz are questioning Jared Butler's level of professionalism in that he is not prepared to play in Summer League. There were some questions about his fitness. There were some questions about the work he did once the season ended. There were some questions about his level of being present at the end of last season. Was he plugged in? There was some questions about his level of frustration and how much that carried over into his offseason before training camp for Summer League opened. And those questions now have been validated. And one of the things that I talked about with my Jazz source last night was, is Jared Butler a disappointment for the Utah Jazz? And without hesitation, my source at the Jazz said, absolutely, he is disappointing. Jared Butler is disappointing the Utah Jazz. Jake, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the tough part is, and this is no excuse, but I think situationally speaking, like, they haven't exactly put, Jared Butler in a great position to do things here. And I think it goes both ways. Like, I agree that Jared Butler has not had a strong showing at Summer League. I think whether you're talking about his fitness level, whether you're talking about decision-making and the willingness to not have to be the guy that takes the shot constantly, like, he needs to understand how to play make. And what's disappointing to me, if I'm the Utah Jazz, is that you're sitting here watching Donovan Mitchell do what he does. Now, not saying Don's perfect, but from a developmental standpoint, you're getting 82 games, probably, 60 to 75 games, somewhere in there, to watch Donovan Mitchell on a nightly basis do what he does, and you're not developing from a decision-making standpoint on the floor. You're not developing in a pick-and-roll situation. That's what I think you have to be disappointed about. But I am definitely not going to sit here and say that I'm disappointed in his shot percentage or the skill set portion of the game, because he hasn't had enough reps. That's the issue.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in Jared Butler. I think he looked, in my opinion, I'm not going to say out of shape. Jared Butler didn't look like a finely tuned machine.
Exactly, and that's a difference.
There's a huge difference. It's not like he was Zion Williamson, who was wildly out of shape and not ready to play. Jared Butler just wasn't a finely tuned machine like he should have been. For a guy battling for his spot in the NBA, Jared Butler has been a problem. So as we sit here and we talk about breaking news this morning, the Utah Jazz and the New York Knicks are engaged in Donovan Mitchell trade talks. Sources told us last night at about 7 o'clock Mountain Time that the Knicks had been offering 5 picks and a package of players that included Julius Randle. The Utah Jazz told the New York Knicks, we are not interested in Julius Randle in any way, shape, or form. It'll be interesting to see what this comes to. Now, by the way, I think it's important, and I know a lot of people are asking, like, okay, well, how close is this? These trades tend to not work in a linear timeline. There is no A plus B equals trade done. Mm-hmm. This could happen in 20 seconds from right now, or this could happen in a week, or this could happen not at all. I don't think you're seeing people saying, well, hey, this is close, because you have to put a framework together that works. And Danny Ainge is notoriously difficult to deal with. He is not a guy that's going to acquiesce and give you what you want, and he'll take less. Danny Ainge has a bar set for Donovan Mitchell, and he's not going to lower that bar. Mm-hmm. I think you saw that with all of the picks that he got from Minneapolis with the T-Wolves deal for Rudy Gobert. He got an incredible haul that essentially broke the NBA, right?
Yep.
So he's not going to lower his bar, and he's not going to take less in return to make a deal for Donovan Mitchell that, frankly, he doesn't have to make that deal. So it's going to be interesting to see if and when this trade happens. My feeling is if Danny Ainge wants to trade Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks, he could do that right now. It's just a matter of what Danny wants in return, and I think Danny Ainge has a very high bar. All right, Let's get some of your comments because, again, you guys have been amazing. Neville93, good morning to you, my friend. Rec1 says, as Solis, you can still tell yourselves Don and Rudy will likely be there whenever whatever happens this summer, LOL. Yeah, probably. Let's see. New York Jazz fan, says Donovan will only be changing scenery to a horrible franchise. Owner, just terrible from the top down. Jimmy Dolan's not a good owner. And I've said this repeatedly as well. If you're Donovan Mitchell and you sit up on the podium when the season ended and said, I just want to win, why are you going to the Knicks?
Yeah.
Why are you going to the Knicks? And by the way, again, I was told last night, Donovan Mitchell is not asked to be traded. Donovan Mitchell has not demanded a trade. He has not talked trade with the Jazz. He has not said, I want to be traded right now. That hasn't happened. So I know for a fact, by the way, that the Jazz and Donovan Mitchell are in contact on this. So it's not like Donovan Mitchell was stunned or caught off guard. Don knows what's going on. I do think, by the way, this gives a little credence and credit where credit is due. I think either Tony Jones or I want to say Andy Larson at the Tribune said, it's curious that Donovan Mitchell's not at Summer League. Maybe this is why he's not at Summer League. I don't think it's curious. I think Donovan Mitchell understands he's got to be in the lab. He's back from the Bahamas. I think he's in South Florida as we speak. I don't think it's curious, but it does give credence to those wondering why Donovan Mitchell's not at Summer League.
Who else is at Summer League for the Jazz?
Not nobody that I've seen. Really, nobody of note.
I think it's a non-story in my opinion. I think that Donovan Mitchell is working on his game. I think Donovan Mitchell knows that the excuses are over with and he has to be better and he has to get to that next level. And frankly, if you look at all the other guys who are at Summer Leagues for their teams are not engaged in trades and all this stuff. I mean, like Royce O'Neal is an example. He's at Summer League for the Nets, but he knows he's going to be there. He knows he's going to be playing with these guys. Don has no idea who he's going to be playing with.
But I think when you talk Summer League, look at Ben Simmons. I think one of the reasons Ben Simmons is at Summer League is he's trying to rehab his image.
Yeah.
That's why Ben Simmons is there.
Yeah.
Talking about how his back surgery went great, rehab's gone great, he's ready to rock and roll. He's trying to rehab his image to help if the Nets are trying to trade him.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know that anything is rock solid that you hear rumor-wise anyways. Cody Strickland said, like I predicted with James Harden last year, that you guys said no to me, that came true, that he will not be good.
Who won't be good?
Who won't be good? I don't know. That's very convoluted. Donovan will be the same. He'll average 16 to 18 points and will barely make the playoffs on the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell's a 20-point-a-night guy rolling out of bed. And I don't know, like, I guess, Cody, if you're trying to be right, or I don't really know what the argument is. James Harden, I don't think James Harden was bad. James Harden's just not the same James Harden he was. James Harden's not, Houston Rocket James Harden. He's not the guy that beat the Jazz. He's not like Donovan Mitchell hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential.
Yeah.
I just hope people understand that. And this is what I don't understand about all the people that are rooting for him to be traded. You better watch what you wish for, because my feeling is that's going to happen. And Garcia, good morning to you. Long story short, the Jazz can't get free agents or keep draft picks. Moving to Las Vegas in the next 10 years. Why would the Jazz move to Las Vegas? What on earth are you talking about?
Next comment.
Agent Super Argo says, I really don't want to give up our future, but man, if KD and Kyrie can't attract other stars, how will Mitchell? Grimes is a rising stock. But I would slow your roll on Grimes. He is a wonderfully talented player. But this guy played 17 minutes on the Knicks last year.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy that left Kansas to go to Houston. Like, there's proving ground that this guy's got to cover. Like, is Grimes ever a 35-minute-a-night player? Is he ever one of your top 3 players on your roster?
Who's replacing Donovan Mitchell in any of these trades?
That's the point. That's the point. D's World of Hoops says Jazz aren't looking for long-term contracts with the salary not matching the value of the player. Exactly
Agreed.
right.
They
D's
just
World,
got out of that.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of Julius Randle's situation. They're not looking to pick up $100 million on Julius Randle.
Yeah.
They're not. I think that's a non-starter. J-Rod says Utah should keep Donovan for an all-star break and get 2 viable trades before the season. Yeah, I mean, at some point you're going to have to do business on Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley. That much is very clear. Agent Super Argo says Grimes could end up being one of the best shooters in the NBA, people. The word is teams want draft picks due to the deep talent available in upcoming drafts. Victor, yeah, I mean, look, VW is a huge name. No doubt about that.
But again, you got to be number 1 overall to go and get him. So are we really tearing down an entire organization to go and get him?
I just don't think that's – I don't think that's true. I really don't. I don't. Let's see. King Key 5 says, I agree, J-Rod. D's World of Hoops says the Knicks are capable of giving 6 to 8 picks. They are. And
that's what I think has Danny Ainge's attention, if I'm being honest. Like, I know for a fact Danny Ainge isn't gonna mess up a Donovan Mitchell trade. I agree. He's got a bar he's set. He's sticking to it. But when you start adding up the Knicks picks, the Wolves picks, like, that's leverage. That lets you go and make another deal.
Yep, I agree. By the way, Josh Martin sends us $2 more and said this trade will be a big L for Ryan Clark. And then he clarified that, by the way, with $2 more and said typo meant Ryan Smith. So you were exactly right.
Yeah.
He meant Ryan Smith.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I do think that, you know, again, with all due respect to Ryan Smith, because I think it's been pretty solid so far, you know, whether you like the jerseys or not, or whether you like the trades or not, they are moving, they're doing things. You know, this is a legacy-defining trade. You don't just trade guys like Donovan Mitchell when you're the Utah Jazz and expect that no one's going to care about that. I mean, this is a big, big deal.
Yep. Robert Stewart says Pat Bev can't be traded until August 30th, according to ESPN. Correct.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying everybody talking about flipping Patrick Beverley into this deal. His $13 million doesn't work. And he's a guy that's restricted because of his situation. So it doesn't make sense to include him in that. It doesn't. Roll with Ace says the Jazz are interested in Grimes. I would agree they're interested in Grimes.
They should be.
But he's not the centerpiece of a trade. He's a guy, I think he's making $2 million. He's a guy that makes a trade work, but he's not a guy that's a centerpiece of a deal. Joseph Chavez says, if you see Obi when he got minutes, you wouldn't be talking bad about Obi. I'm not talking bad about Obi, but he's a guy that doesn't, to me, again, he's no different than Grimes. He puts a trade over the top. He finishes a deal salary-wise.
Who is the proven go-get-it guy in this deal if you're the Utah Jazz? RJ Barrett's not a proven go-get-it guy. He can play. He can be on a good team, but he's not Donovan Mitchell. And that's what I struggle with here. That's kind of where that's my biggest hesitation point. Okay, I'm trading Donovan Mitchell, and I'm getting nothing guaranteed in return, essentially. I'm getting a ton of draft capital. I'm getting some contributors at the NBA level, but not Donovan Mitchell level contributor.
And I think you have to remember that Donovan Mitchell is a guy that's an all-star. He's a guy that's a 20-point-a-night guy.
He's the face of a franchise,
I mean,
bro.
He's a guy that you can build a team around.
Yeah.
Does Danny Ainge believe that? I don't know. There were rumors last week he did not. I haven't heard that. But there are rumors that he is not. Clearly, we missed the boat a little bit here. And I asked my Jazz guys yesterday, I said, hey, why the change? And the answer was the same as it's always been. The change is that the New York Knicks are offering an incredible amount of equity in return for Donovan Mitchell. And if you can get 6 to 8 draft picks and players, you're going to do that deal. And it is what it is, right? I mean, so I don't know. I think you have to have RJ Barrett to make this deal. But I'm not a general manager. There's a reason I do a talk show every day and not run a basketball team. My feeling is Emmanuel Quickley's a really nice player. He's one of Donovan's closest friends in the world. Does it make sense to trade Quickley for Donovan Mitchell if you're the Knicks? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would. But if I'm not getting Barrett and I'm not getting Quickley, are we even having conversations at this point?
No.
We're probably not.
No.
So what I need Quickley. And really, if it's me, I need Quickley and Barrett, and I need 6 draft picks.
Yeah.
And then we can make a deal. But Obi Toppin doesn't excite me.
Yeah.
Julius Randle doesn't excite me.
Especially Julius.
Evan Fournier doesn't excite me. And again, Grimes is a nice player, but is he really a guy that you're like, that's my dude? Yep, that's the guy. No, he's not. And again, same thing with Toppin. They're not bad players. They're role players. They're your 7th or 8th guy. Like Obi Toppin's probably 8, 9, 10.
Is Obi Toppin ever a starting 5 in the league or a starting 4? Because he's not really traditional.
Not on a championship caliber team. He's not. I don't think. Let's see. D's World of Hoops says you guys are on point with RJ. You doing this for the draft picks and flipping of the assets. Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I don't love that concept. That's what I struggle with. That's what I think the conversation is. Not that you're
wrong. But Jake,
wrong,
let's be honest. They're going to be, if they trade Donovan Mitchell for your mom, they're going to be bad.
Yeah, and that's my thing. If you're going to be bad, damn, this trade better just be like a gold mine. I mean, I agree with you completely. Like, it better be at least 6 picks. And it better be RJ and Grimes. Like, I think that's like kind of the starting point. And then, if you got to take like an Obi Toppin or like whatever else, to get the deal done, that's fine. But I think the core of this trade, if you're the Utah Jazz, has to be like, it has to be over the top value. And when I think back about, the information we've been getting and the narrative coming out of the team and our sourcing, we have been told for a minute that the Utah Jazz are not actively looking to trade Donovan. Like, they're not going around the league and calling a bunch of teams and seeing what deals are available. But what they have said is if we get a deal that is just so over the top that we would be stupid to turn it down, then we'll do that deal. So with that in mind, what is a deal that you would be stupid not to do as far as the Knicks are concerned? Well, yeah, probably like 6 to 7 picks, RJ and Quentin. And I don't know. I don't know. That's a preference thing from Danny, but I just don't want them to make a deal that ships out Donovan Mitchell and they don't get adequate value back, whatever that looks like. Because I don't want to have to sit here on the show at the trade deadline this coming year and be like, well, you traded Rudy, you traded Donovan, and now we're just sitting here not even being in the play-in tournament waiting for the draft.
Yeah.
I don't want to be there.
No, I don't think you do either. It's just one of those situations where, you're going to have to take a couple of steps back to move forward. And this is why I ask about Jazz fans, what's your appetite for losing right now? And New York Knicks fans are all too familiar with this. New York Knicks fans have a justifiable level of apathy towards the ball club and the organization because it's very rare that the Knicks make a trade and win that trade. It is very rare that you sign a guy like Jalen Brunson and that turns into a championship. When's that ever happened? Like, I mean, you can go back to the Van Gundy Knicks. You can go back to Patrick Ewing with a finger roll instead of a dunk. Like, you want to talk about a team and a fan base traumatized, the New York Knicks know all too well about this.
But what I would say is that the Knicks, in this particular scenario, the Knicks, at least as far as success is concerned and measuring that success, are much closer to it for their franchise. Success for the Knicks is getting to the playoffs consistently right now. Success for the Utah Jazz is getting to the Western Conference Finals, which is 2 totally different conversations. Like, that's 2 totally different worlds. Getting into the play-in and getting bounced in the first round, that being your success, is different than, hey, Western Conference Finals is our minimum. Yeah,
totally agree. Giggity says that Jazz fans wanting Don traded will regret it if it happens. Totally agree. James Knight, good morning to you. Don't tell me the Jazz could still have soft French guy on the roster, LOL. Well, and that's what Evan Fournier is. I mean, that's
him and
the
Rudy
hard
are
part.
tight. Him
that's
and Rudy
the hard
are tight.
part. Yeah, Evan Fournier is one of the guys that was, according to sources around the NBA, getting in Rudy Gobert's ear that he needs to get out of Utah. Well, how did that work out for you? We'll see. There's an awful lot of pressure on the Minnesota Timberwolves this morning.
Yep.
Because they're going to pay Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert $100 million a year down the road. So Evan Fournier is a guy that's soft. I mean, he is a guy who is a wanting, willing, game-on-the-line shooter. Would I rather have him shooting than Bojan Bogdanovic? Yeah, probably. But Evan Fournier... Again, Evan Fournier's a nice little. He's nuts on the Sunday.
Yeah,
he's not the ice cream. He's not the syrup. He's the
finisher.
He's not the whipped cream. He ain't the cherry. He the nuts. I don't know why I said it like that.
Okay.
I just felt like that. And Garci, you have a typo there. There's a D on Donovan, just so you know. D's World of Hoops says it's simple. It's a simple science. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. Roll with Ace says Rome wasn't built overnight.
Agreed.
Totally agree.
But who built Rome, and do you trust in who's building Rome?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you trust Danny Ainge? Snipes Entertainment, good morning to you. Let's all remember the Knicks could have had Spida, and they chose Frank Ntilikina. Now they're paying the idiot tax. Well, truer words have never been spoken.
Sir. Not wrong.
Truer words have never been spoken. New York Jazz fan says, is Danny going to stick around to really bring this around if we blow this up? He's getting old. To build the Celtics, he had over 20 picks. Yeah, that's a big question. I think that's a really good point. Danny Ainge is not... He's not a 45-year-old executive. Danny Ainge is up there in age. That's why I said I have a hard time believing that you're not going to have an all-star caliber player in the all-star game. Like, I have a hard time believing that. I have a real hard time believing that. So we'll see. By the way, the trade deadline is before the all-star break this year. Keep that in mind. That's a big one. And Garci says the purple one should have been updated. The uniform? Well, they were behind the curve on the uniforms. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You're right. CB says, love your show, but I feel like you guys are backtracking pretty badly from yesterday's show. I don't think we're backtracking at all.
Yeah, what are we backtracking on?
I don't think this represents a change. And I spent a lot of my day yesterday trying to get an answer to that question.
Yeah.
What changed with the Utah Jazz? And my guy at the Jazz straight up told me nothing changed. This is there's potential to get an incredible offer. And if where we are, if we get an incredible offer for Donovan Mitchell, we have to listen. We have to make the effort. They have to do their due diligence. I don't think that that's very different from a narrative that's been around this team for a month. I mean, I think if you get an over-the-top offer for Don, how do you not listen to that? If you're getting 6 first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell, are you not going to listen? You're not going to listen to that. If it's R.J. Barrett and 6 first-round picks, you're not having the conversation? Come on now. I think you're absolutely having the conversation.
And what I also say is I think a lot of people want to characterize the show as we said they'd never trade Donovan Mitchell. And we never said they'd never trade Donovan Mitchell. What our stance has been is that we feel that they will build around Donovan Mitchell. Now, that being said, again, if someone calls with some ridiculous offer, you have to listen. And that's what I think people don't want to hear from us. People want to just say, oh, well, you guys said they'd never trade Don and he'd never go to the Knicks and it would never happen.
Yeah, we've never said that.
We've never said that.
What we've been saying since December is the Jazz were going to build around Donovan Mitchell. And they were going to trade Rudy Gobert because you cannot win when you have an offensive hole in your lineup at the 5 position. You cannot have Rudy Gobert making 23% of your salary cap and expect to win a championship. They traded him. I think on Donovan Mitchell, and whether the Jazz ever admitted it or not, I don't know. Maybe there was an issue relationally between the Jazz and Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has been almost silent the entire summer so far.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is that Donovan Mitchell was going back to work, putting a lot of pride and effort into his body and his game, and he has a point to prove this year. You want to give me 6 first-round picks and a couple of players for him? Let's talk about it. I don't know what other way I can state that. So if you're telling me we flip-flopped on that, I would ask you, how have we flip-flopped on that? Yeah. How have we changed our opinion on that? Yesterday on the show, I don't think what Adrian Wojnarowski reported 2 days ago is anything new. I just don't. I think that what Justin Zanuck told the media last week, hey, we're not intending to trade Donovan Mitchell, but nobody's untouchable. Which is to say, if you come to me with 6 first-round picks and R.J. Barrett, I'm going to have the conversation with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Pretty straightforward.
If R.J. Barrett's not in the deal, I wouldn't make that trade. But I'm not Danny Ainge. So if Danny Ainge gets a package of players and 6 picks that he likes, my guess is he makes the deal. I would guess. I don't know. But the one thing that I am convinced of is that Danny Ainge is not dumb. Danny Ainge is not a bad executive. Danny Ainge is an elite executive, in my opinion. And Danny Ainge doesn't very often lose trades. Has he lost trades in the past? He has. but he wins a hell of a lot more than he's lost. And when you look at what he got for Rudy Gobert, I will just again say Danny Ainge broke the NBA trade wheel when he traded Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
So my feeling is that if Danny Ainge is going to trade Donovan Mitchell, there's going to be an ass swooping that's going to happen, whether it's the Knicks or somebody else. If you're giving me 6 first-round picks, how am I not talking to you?
Yeah.
So I don't know if we flipped. I don't. Ice Panda says your sources suck. Can't wait 4 more days when you guys change your tune again about RJ being traded. Well, all I can say is the New York Knicks, according to the people I talked to last night, said they're not trading RJ Barrett. Danny Ainge is, I believe, from what people at the Jazz are telling me, Danny Ainge isn't doing this deal without RJ Barrett. Now, does that mean they throw in 2 more draft picks, a couple more pick swaps to compensate for not getting RJ Barrett? Maybe. Is that what Danny's ultimately after? Could be. I don't know. I haven't talked to Danny Ainge.
And I'll still maintain, you can come in here and say our sources suck or that we don't know what we're talking about, but the track record speaks for itself.
Yeah, we'll see. The proof is in the pudding. I'm not going to sit here and talk about my sources all day long. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All I can tell you is I believe that Danny Ainge is talking to the Knicks, and I think he is going to get a minimum of 6 picks from the Knicks, is my opinion. That's my opinion. I was told yesterday they offered 5. I don't think 5 and Obi Toppin is getting the job done. I don't. So we'll see. D's World of Hoops says, guys got to pay attention. Snipes Entertainment says, at New York Jazz fan, his players are not enough to get quality picks. Donovan Mitchell is enough quality to get picks. There is no doubt about that. Good morning, Mr. E. He says, I collect Jazz jerseys since the 90s. I refuse to buy those craps. Damn. Yeah, and you're a longtime Jazz fan, Mr. E. So, yeah, I do. I value your opinion. J-Rod says you can't have Sexton and Mitchell in the backcourt. Too small. Yeah. I mean, Colin Sexton is interesting. I don't think the Jazz are interested in Colin Sexton. Or seriously, there was a sign-in trade rumor with him. And again, this goes back to Patrick Beverley. People were saying, well, the Jazz would have to buy out Patrick Beverley. Why would you buy him out? Wouldn't you just trade him? When he's got value, wouldn't you hang on to him and flip him? Yeah. I think you would. I absolutely think you would. Asgil says, I'm out on Butler. He ain't it. We'll see. Joseph Chavez says, Knicks already said they are not putting RJ Barrett in any trade talks. Well, there you go. I don't know where that's coming from, or I don't know. Are you saying that Leon Rose said that on the record? I don't know where that comes from. Mike Maple says, if there's no RJ Barrett, this is a non-starter. You don't trade the franchise guy without big in return. See, and that I agree with 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know how you have to value Donovan Mitchell. You have to. Ice Panda says exactly, no trade without RJ, and the Knicks can keep losing. Well, there you go. We'll see what happens there. Asgil also says Butler was a low-risk move, though, honestly. Yeah, what did they pluck him at 41? Yeah, I think.
Second round.
And it was a great deal to get into the first round. It really was. We'll see. Let's see. J-Rod says other viable trades Jazz might do before the start of the season. Your opinion? I don't think there's any doubt. And by the way, thank you for the $5 tip, J-Rod. Appreciate it. I don't think there's any doubt they're moving Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic. Before yesterday at 7 o'clock, I'd have told you, based on what I was hearing around the NBA, I would have told you that the Jazz would have far more likely been involved in a 3-teamer with Brooklyn. I think it is not at all a coincidence that the Utah Jazz are being rumored in a deal for Ben Simmons, and all of a sudden Ben Simmons rolls up with his fiance in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about how he feels great and how he's ready to play and he can't wait to get back on the floor,
right,
and he can't wait to contribute. I don't think that's an accident. We call that marketing, folks. And I think that Ben Simmons is out on a marketing tour. He did a one-on-one interview. Like, Ben Simmons is trying to rehab his image. And I think he needs to do that because, frankly, most NBA general managers, from what I understand, view Ben Simmons as damaged goods. And how can you not?
Yeah.
And so if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you are totally tearing it down when you trade Ben Simmons. Now, for me, I will go ahead and tell you again, if I'm the Utah Jazz, I'm not interested in a Donovan Mitchell out, Ben Simmons in scenario. I don't care if it's 100 picks. That deal crushes your team because of what's owed to Ben Simmons. He has an enormous amount of money left on his contract. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put yourself back in a max contract situation where you have very little movement. I mean, this is a team that, by the way, just got financial flexibility.
Yeah.
So you're looking to unwind that watch? I don't think so. And one other thing, by the way, that I think is really interesting as we talk Utah Jazz basketball here on the show. Do you buy into this idea that the Jazz are in financial trouble? I was listening to a national pundit yesterday, and I'm not going to call him out by name or anything, but I was listening to a national NBA analyst yesterday who said that the Jazz are unloading these deals because Ryan Smith is in financial trouble. And that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy who just bought a minority share at RSL. This is a guy who spent billions on the Jazz. This is a guy who's made billions with Qualtrics. This is not a dumb dude.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that Ryan Smith is in financial trouble, so he's lowering his salaries? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This guy also went on to bring up the jerseys and said, well, you know, their jersey rollout has not sold well.
Right.
Maybe that's true.
But your franchise isn't hinged on jersey sales. I mean, come on.
Well, but I think it points to a larger overall financial picture in one that says, well, hey, we're not moving merch right now, and people hate the Jazz logo, the new Note logo.
Right.
That's one of the most hated things. So maybe that's part of this. I don't know.
I don't buy that.
I'm not.
I don't buy that.
I am not into that.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I really am not buying that. But again, that's just my opinion. We'll see. Josh Martin with a $5 tip says Ainge will use the Knicks trade offer as a base for other teams' trade offers. Could be.
One can only hope, bro. One can only hope. I mean, I just find myself being like, man, like we're going to trade a Donovan Mitchell level player to try to make other deals. That just doesn't, that just isn't, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, yeah. And again, as you always say, that's why we're on the show, not running a basketball team. But I just am, it just to me, logically speaking, doesn't make a lot of sense to trade Donovan Mitchell because you want to get a ton of draft assets and like rebuild the team. I just don't love that concept. I think Don in particular, because of his age and his skill set and where he's going, you can see what he's going to be.
Yep. And Garcia says, I'm not understanding why we're questioning if it's a rebuild or not. And Garcia, I'm not going to continue to show your comments if you continue to like misspell words intentionally. Like, we're adults. We actually like spell people's names right. So I'm not going to keep showing your comments. Tanner says, but at least the Knicks have an NBA championship. The Jazz don't. What, from like 1937?
Yeah, respectfully, who cares?
But yes, that was back in the 70s when they won that title. But if the Jazz won a title in the 70s, but they didn't. Like, I don't think the championship thing matters at all. You're trying to win a championship. You're not trying to go back and win a championship. So this trade with Donovan has to be done well. And that's why I've always maintained I don't think that you can make a deal with the Heat one-on-one. That makes no sense. Like all these people saying, well, Tyler Hero. The Jazz are not interested in a package of players that is centered on Tyler Hero for Donovan Mitchell. They're simply not doing that deal. I think when you look at this Knicks deal, the win is the draft picks. The cherry on top is RJ Barrett. If I'm Danny Ainge, that's where I'm at. And again, I know that everybody says, well, Shams is the one who broke the trade. All right, cool. I don't care. What my guys told me last night was the Jazz want RJ Barrett and they want 6 picks. And the Knicks were not offering that. The Knicks were offering a quickly Julius Randle 5 picks, including swaps, and that's not going to get that deal done.
And that supports what we've been saying, respectfully.
Yeah.
I'm really not trying to do the we're right or whatever thing. I just think we're getting comments about you flip flopped on this or backtracked. We haven't flip flopped or backtracked. I mean, we've been really consistent that the plan is to build around Donovan Mitchell, but if they were to get some ridiculous trade offer, again, define ridiculous, okay, well, in this case, that's 6 picks and the players we've discussed here, then I think they're interested.
Spencer Morgan says, yep, you're backtracking. What would you guys have to see to acknowledge this is a rebuild and admit you missed on the retool versus rebuild question? I don't know that the rebuild versus retool question's been answered. If you trade Donovan Mitchell, you're rebuilding. I don't think there's any doubt. And if they trade Donovan Mitchell and they don't get much in return, yes, I will sit here and I will say that we were 100% wrong and that our sources at the Jazz misled us. And if they trade Donovan Mitchell for 6 picks and a package of players that includes RJ Barrett or Quickly, and like if the trade they make is a landslide in Danny's favor, I'm not going to say we got it wrong because we didn't get it wrong. I've sat here for 6 months and told you the Jazz have said to me directly, hey, we're building around Donovan Mitchell. We are going to trade Rudy Gobert. They traded Rudy Gobert. So after the Rudy Gobert trade, I was straight up told we have no plans to trade Donovan Mitchell. Don has not asked for a trade. He has not demanded a trade. Not before, not after. I asked straight up yesterday, has Donovan Mitchell demanded a trade? No. And the answer I got was no, stop it. That hasn't happened. Like, I'm not going to backtrack on something that we didn't say.
Yeah.
So if you trade Donovan Mitchell and it's a mediocre deal and it looks like a salary dump, I was completely wrong. If that happens, I was completely wrong. I am not backtracking if they trade Donovan Mitchell for 6 first-round picks. And
RJ Barrett and Quickly.
Why would I do that? That's not. And let's say RJ Barrett's not in the trade. If you get 6 first-round picks, Quickly, Grimes, if you get young talent, 6 first-round picks, like how is that? How do you say no to that? I want RJ Barrett in this deal if I'm Danny Ainge. There's no doubt about that. But 6 first-round picks? Are you kidding me? That alone starts the conversation.
Yeah.
That gets you from, hey, I'm going to send this to voicemail to, hey, I'm going to text Danny Ainge and say we're willing to include 6 first-round picks. Let me call him. He's answering your call. Right? I mean, like.
So how exactly are we backtracking?
Yeah, I just. And look, or Spencer, you've been here for 3 days asking me to say we were wrong. We're not wrong. We haven't been wrong yet. So when that happens, I will have no problem sitting up here and saying, hey, we were wrong. They traded Donovan Mitchell for Obi Toppin and a first-round pick. Yeah, we were wrong.
And by the way, will that make you feel better once that trade happens? Will you feel better now that the Jazz don't have Donovan Mitchell? Is that what
Which
you
is
want?
The best part.
Like we have, like literally,
which is the best part.
I want to put this narrative to bed before it starts growing and being some ridiculous thing. We have no issue saying that we were wrong.
None.
I have no problem being wrong. The fact is, you do this business long enough, which we've been doing it for 7 years at this point. When you've been doing it as long as we've been doing it, yeah, you're going to get some things wrong over the course of your time. I don't have an issue with being wrong, man.
7 years. I've worked in sports radio and media for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I can tell you firsthand, I have covered teams daily from the Lakers to the St. Louis Cardinals. This is not about how many times you're wrong. It's not about how many times you're right. Is your information good or is it bad? And it's unquestionable to me that the Jazz would like, in a perfect world, they would keep Donovan Mitchell. He'd go to the All-Star game and they'd win a championship this coming season. That's the perfect world. Is that going to happen? Probably not. Probably not. That's probably not going to happen. So Jose Crown says, I talk from a winning franchise standpoint. Caleb says chess, not checkers. I would agree with that. Giggity says, I know where Ryan Smith can save 10% if needed. Okay. Tell me where its 10% is. D. Jones says, you're trading Mitchell because you want a chance to tank for Victor. I don't think so. You're not getting the number 1 pick. You're not. I mean, Danny Ainge is not a guy that sits at the bottom of the draft for a rookie.
He's never been that guy.
For a European rookie at that.
Yeah.
He is a guy who's built his championship around veterans. Then he traded them, got draft picks, and promptly left.
Which, by the way, is what every NBA team who wins championships does. I mean, 9 out of 10 teams are going to build their team through trades. That's what it is now.
Lewis Selder says, sounds like 45 doesn't want to be here anymore. I don't know if that's true or not. My guess is that Donovan would like to be traded. I mean, I think when you handle yourself the way he's handled himself, he had multiple opportunities to say, no, I want to be in Salt Lake City. I love playing for the Jazz. He didn't say that. He's had no presence at all this offseason other than cheering for the Mets.
Yep.
And I can tell you we have asked repeatedly about his to talk to him. he has declined every request we've put in. And
notice
everybody else
he hasn't done any, and everybody else's too, and that may speak louder than anything.
It's just one of those things, man. This is the business of the NBA. Jake R sends us a $5 tip. Appreciate that. He says, chat, they have been consistent with their sources. You wouldn't know. You would know if you listen daily. You're all just biting on confirmation bias to bag on the show. Like, it's not even a bag on the show thing. I honestly don't care if people
care less, dude.
If people say, oh, you guys, the sourcing thing, or, oh, hey, I've got sources. What is that worth? What is it getting me? It just, there's no win in that. There's no win in that. You know why we do this? Because we have a pretty good following. We're not a big show. We're just, as Spence Checkett says, we're the hacks on YouTube. Cool. That is who we are. I'm happy to be the hack on YouTube. Happy to do it. Happy to do it. Building a little thing here. Hey, cool. Let's have fun. That's why we do this show. Frankly, the ego thing doesn't play a role for me. It really doesn't. Spencer Morgan says first 6-round picks would indicate rebuild versus guy. Spencer, okay. How about this, Spencer? Here, I'll look right in the camera. Man, Spencer, wow. Fuck
can
me.
Can we get the clapping sound?
Yeah,
I think
congratulations,
we have the clapping sound.
Congratulations, like my God.
There it is.
My God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Spencer Morgan, congratulations.
Yes.
Holy cow. I don't know how we've done this show for 7 years or how I had my career before that. Yeah. Wow, Spence, you're the man, dude. Holy cow. Everybody, I mean, it's celebrated.
In the comments, can we get
some love for Spencer Morgan? Dude? He's 100% right all the time about everything.
Yes.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yes, sir.
Man. Someday, and Spencer, maybe we can have lunch or something and you can mentor me on your skills and your abilities and how we can grow and develop the show in your model so that we can be right all the time.
Shout out to Mobamba.
All right. Good job, man. What's the next comment?
Do you feel better?
Yeah, what's the next comment?
Just curious.
What do we got?
CB says, I don't think we are questioning you. You are questioning your Jazz sources, and you have to backtrack from what the Jazz sources have told you. That's the credibility issue. I'm not backtracking from what they've told me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
If you don't understand why we don't need to backtrack, then I don't know if you're just not listening. Like, it's not that we don't want to backtrack. We don't need to backtrack.
Yeah, I'm not going to. Why would I? Yeah, anyway. Why are we talking about this? Steve Peterson says, turn the show over to Spencer. He earned it. All right, see you later.
All right.
Seriously. David Hooms says, Spencer, how are you so clueless? Spencer's not clueless. Spencer is
clueless.
Spencer is...
No, I mean, let's not hate on Spencer.
No.
But I think what's funny is that there's... And this is the point I feel like I've been making for a week because of this Donovan stuff. There is such a thirst in the Utah Jazz fan base to say, your sources suck, you're wrong, you need to backtrack. I see it all the time, whether we're talking Andy Larson, Tony Jones, Sarah Todd, our show, Spence Checkett, the guy who calls us a hack constantly.
The hacks on
No
YouTube.
matter who you are. It literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's going to happen, and that's why I say, cool. I mean, if that's what floats your boat, if you want to come in and do that, more power to you, bro.
But this isn't personal.
Yeah, that's the thing.
What cracks me up is people are like, oh, I told you so, I was right. I report. Who cares? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Nobody's keeping receipts. Like last night, the best part was like 2 hours. If we're keeping receipts, let's say, like I beat most of the media on this by 2 hours last night.
Right.
And frankly, we had it at 3:00 in the afternoon. We were just trying to get double confirmation on it.
We were trying to verify it.
So my guess is we had it by a couple of hours. I tweeted it, I think, at like 7:00.
Yeah.
And at 9:30, where Mrs. Monty and I are laying in bed replanting the seeds in the garden from the storm.
Right.
And stuff. And Shams tweeted that, and it was like, I put bullseyes on it, and people are like, what are you talking about? Shams broke the story. Okay, cool. Cool,
Pay
man.
the guy.
Yeah, it is what it is. Let's see. Ruggs89 New York says Mitchell greater than Grimes. I would agree with that.
Agreed.
Christopher Shorter says, so would you say the Heat have a better chance of landing Donovan, assuming they are willing to give up Tyler? No, I don't think
dude.
I think the Heat have zero chance of landing.
The Heat's only path to Donovan Mitchell is a multi-team deal because they don't have assets. That's
Tyler
the problem.
Hero is not a guy that the Jazz would take in return as the focal point of a deal.
Yeah.
They're not. By the way, Kyle Lowry looks in amazing shape. Did anybody see his video yesterday?
Well, would you be in amazing shape if Pat Riley said you were fat, essentially?
Yeah. Well,
come on, dude.
He's not fat anymore. Fat? He is not fat anymore. Daniel Fowler says, it's wild that people watch the show just to hate on y'all. It's called a talk show. People are right and wrong. Yeah, I mean, it happens.
And that's the thing. Like that.
It happens.
So that's the thing that I think separates good shows from great shows. The conversation isn't being right or wrong. The conversation is what's best for the team, what's best for the future, and that's where I have like issues, if you want to call them that. Like trading Donovan is not a good thing. Like the only scenario where trading Donovan is good is if you get a trade that is so good you would literally look stupid for turning it down. Like that's the only scenario where you have to trade him.
Yeah. By the way, James Knight sends us a $2.99 tip.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
I don't know
Appreciate
that covers a bottle of 4X Gold, though, bro.
Anyway, can we ban Spencer Morgan? No, we don't ban Spencer Morgan.
We don't ban people.
Spencer's our guy.
Yeah, dude.
He
We're playing the game, bro. We're playing the game.
And by the way, everybody's saying we're not reading your comments. We have, honest to God, I think we have over 4,000 comments in here today. Like, it's a lot. I can't read every single one. On a daily basis, if you read this show, if you're on the show, we try to read every comment, whether you're pro-show, anti-show, whatever.
The best way to get your comment right is to send a tip because it highlights it.
Exactly right.
But seriously, even if that tip is 5 cents, I'm not saying to tip because of the money. I'm saying if you want it read that bad, just send a tip. Even if it's a tiny tip, that will get it read.
Yeah. Giggity says some people in these comments need to pound some box desperately.
Dude, seriously.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Yeah. Jeremy Bolton says hi. Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy, are you 871st into the show today?
I think he is. Giggity says, most times when a star is traded, the team trading the star loses the deal in the long run. I would agree with that.
Well,
I would agree with that. Shammy White says, what's the news? Well, if you're just tuning into the show, the news is that the Jazz and Knicks are talking about a trade centered around Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks, and in return, they would get a package of players along with what we're being told is 6 to 8 draft picks. So we'll see how that goes.
8 draft picks, dude.
6 to 8 would be amazing.
Jesus.
Samuel Johnston, a $5 tip. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Says, honestly, as a Jazz fan, I'm feeling nervous about how this Donovan situation goes. I trust Ainge, but I'm nervous right now. 100% honest.
You should be. You should be, dude. You
Yep.
should be, because this trade, whether you believe they're getting all these picks in RJ Barrett or whatever ends up happening. If they trade Donovan Mitchell, that forever changes the course of the franchise, and there's no guaranteeing. Again, there's no guaranteeing that those 6 to 8 draft picks are going to turn into something. That's the problem.
Yeah. Spencer Morgan comments again.
Spencer.
You are brave.
Hello, Spencer.
He says, LOL, you guys are hilarious. I never said I was right about the rebuild. I was unsure about it. If you were to look back at my comments from prior shows, I think that was clear. Sure. Yeah. Spencer, I honestly am glad you're here, man. Like we're ball breaking at this point. I mean, I have no problem with you asking.
You said it was a retool, not a rebuild.
You son of
Damn
a
it.
bitch. Anyway. Cheese and rice.
Stupid questions.
Yeah. You need that drop. Just go back and do a YouTube search after the show, of course, for Brett Myers meltdown. It is one of the greatest meltdowns ever. Gabe Ledley, almost 400 rolled up to the live, and some people crying about not reading comments. Y'all some weirdos. Just saying. By the way, Gabe Ledley won the PS5 last week.
Hey, by the way, too, for the Spencer Morgans of the world and everyone else listening, big things are coming on the show. I would encourage you to keep watching the show.
I forgot, man. We haven't even talked about that. Yeah. Next Monday, coming up on Monday, we are going to announce a major promotion on this show.
Yes. And I'm not talking video game consoles. It's something bigger.
We're thousands of dollars in value. I am stoked for Monday morning. Monday morning is going to be epic. It is going to be epic. October 7th and 8th will be epic for a listener on this show. A couple more, then we got to get to the Big 12 real quick. James Knight says, I hear the Knicks are willing to pull Patrick Ewing's jersey down and throw that in with Mitchell. Really?
Well.
Man, who doesn't need a good missed finger roll? Oh, sorry, Knicks fans. My bad. Caleb says, Kyle Lowry definitely got right this year. He got comfortable, but playing with teammates like Kawhi Leonard, can you blame him? No. Still the greatest shot, I think, in Game 7 history. Yep. Kawhi Leonard. Yep. Giggity says, whoa, I don't watch this show to see big things coming.
Well.
Is that a Zach Wilson reference? Is that what that is? Gabe Ledley says, I wish you guys would just tell everyone about October 7th and 8th already.
Gabe's got the launch codes, apparently. He understands what it is.
If you know, you know.
I mean, listen. You should
guess. If you want to guess
speculate.
what we're doing,
feel free to speculate, please. I mean, I would love to see some speculation on this.
Teddy Wayman says October 8th is my birthday. Just saying.
Teddy, wow.
Teddy,
I didn't know that.
It could be a happy birthday for you. Spent in a different city. Rec One says, gee, I'm going to have to make that TikTok and Twitter account after all. We may have an easier way for you to do that. Strange Cloud says, Tanner Plummer, you got hosed on the show yesterday, LOL. I was a little salty yesterday.
What?
Yeah. Mark Barrington says, Ainge traded pieces and retooled around Paul Pierce and won a championship. Think he can do the same with Mitchell. Now he has picks back to use for Conley and Bogey, etc. I do think he can do the same. Yeah. I just think it's a matter of is the offer too good not to make a Donovan Mitchell deal?
Listen, let me ask you this before we move on, because we do need to move on. But a question that I think will stick throughout, even if the deal gets done, is Danny Ainge trading Donovan Mitchell. Does that mean that Danny didn't believe in Don? Or does that mean that the offer was just too good not to do it?
Both. I think both. I think there's real credence. I think there is real credence to that. I think there is. Alex Chacon says, Lisa Ann likes Zach Wilson's most recent Insta post. Do I know Lisa Ann? I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. And Garcia says, Mitchell ain't no Paul, LMAO. True. October 7th, Fat Jesus says, trading Jake for 7 listeners.
Well, damn.
That's a lot. Jeremy Bolton says, my speculation is that the new setup will be in a Jack-in-the-Box, everyone wearing a Bulls number 6 jersey, and Grocock making a grand reentry.
Fat! Is grand reentry a euphemism, or what were you trying to do there, bro?
Grocock is a term that you're going to need once you hear what the promotion
Absolute legend.
Yeah, Corey Grocock. That's not the Grococking I was talking about.
Just so you can go to Pound Town.
I could be wrong. Real quick,
wow.
Because Mrs. Monty's on deck, and we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Please give us a thumbs up right now. Please hit it on YouTube. It really helps the show grow. Big 12 Media Day. What did we learn? We learned that Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy is a G.
I don't think there's any question as this moves forward that the Big 12 Conference is in tremendous position. And I said this after we acquired the 4 teams that came in, and I don't need to go through the detail of each one of them, but if you look at the geographical television opportunities that they bring to the table, the number of viewers based on their location, the success they've had in football, they give us different time zones. They give us success and viewership, and ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Absolutely 100% agree with that.
Mike Gundy, I love the guy. First of all, he's got, speaking of growing cocks, he's got a huge mullet, which is that's probably, see, it's a family show.
Anyway,
he's got an amazing mullet. And I think what he said yesterday about Oklahoma, like the bite about how, like the Bedlam rivalry between Oklahoma State and Oklahoma is going away by somebody else's decision.
The future in Bedlam is a year or two left. I mean, that's the future of Bedlam, based on somebody else's decision.
Bro, that was hard hitting, bro. That was him calling them out. Like, blatantly.
Based on somebody else's decision.
Dude, he's amazing.
Dude.
The guy is amazing. And I would simply say, if you're a fan of a Big 12 team, do we have any Big 12 teams in this part of the... No, this is Pac-12 country. My bad.
Based on somebody else's decision.
Sorry, I'm being a jerk now. I'm in full Spencer Morgan mode. Anyway.
Based on somebody else's decision.
Savage.
I know this is Pac-12 country, but I think BYU is ideally situated to thrive here. I look at what's going on with Mike Gundy and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
It's not at all dissimilar to what Utah did with BYU.
Mm-hmm.
And now, in my opinion, Utah is in a position where they need BYU and they need the Big 12 because Utah doesn't have the national brand. They have a regional brand.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add Utah to the Big 12, they absolutely help you regionally. They'll put you on TV. They'll play for a conference championship. They'll play for a major bowl berth every single year. Kyle Whittingham is a god.
Stud.
But make no mistake about it. I think BYU is in a superior position to where Utah is right now. And I think that Mike Gundy talking about Oklahoma yesterday, now they're too humble in Provo, and Kalani will never say two bad words about Utah. I'd be saying the same thing.
Based on somebody else's decision.
And I'd be saying, hey, look, Utah, you tried to exile us, and now like there's all these rumors about BYU going to the Pac-12. Hell no. That's not happening. The Pac-12 is dead. And the sooner that people realize that the Pac-12 is a dying breed,
yes,
the better Utah is going to be.
Yes.
Because if I'm the Utah Utes, the minute that I get an invite from the Big 12, where do I sign?
We're getting somewhere.
Because if the Big 12 really is close to adding 6 teams, including the Arizona schools, including Oregon, and including Colorado, or including Utah, the minute that happens, whoever didn't say yes is on the outside looking in. And if the Big 12 doesn't hand you a rose, and if you don't bow down and kiss the ring to the Big 12, you're on the outside looking in.
I'm screwed.
Because how many teams that'll be left in the Pac-12 actually have an opportunity or a path or a gateway to get to the Big 10 or the SEC?
Yeah, we're talking about the Pac-5 now, right?
And I will just tell you, point blank, as Mrs. Monty points me at the sneakers app.
You guys
for
are
whatever
addicts,
reason.
bro. You guys are absolute addicts.
My point is real quick, I think that BYU is in a superior position. They're not going to the Pac-12. I think Utah needs the Big 12, and the sooner that happens, Jake, I think it's better for Utah.
Yeah, and I think the Big 12 is just has the momentum, and I think that, as usual, unfortunately, and I'm not a BYU or Utah fan, I have no dog in this fight, didn't grow up in Utah, but just looking at it from an unbiased perspective, I don't think there's any way to get around the fact that BYU is in the power position. I mean, that's how it's worked out. Utah fans going to tell you, well, hey, we just went to a bowl game and we just had this awesome season and we overcame so much adversity. That might be true in your perspective.
Yes.
And in my perspective, it's true. Nationally speaking, Big 12 speaking, BYU has the upper hand. They've got ESPN. They've got NIL, which somehow Utah doesn't have any NIL going. And by the way, BYU is already there. So what are we even talking about?
The ESPN portion of this cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
What Mike Gundy said yesterday about, hey, the teams we're adding that have TV deal, that have fan bases. Look how many times Mike Gundy yesterday talked about the importance of fan bases and reach. There's no school in this country that has the global reach that BYU has.
Yeah.
Adding BYU was a no-brainer because BYU is going to bring Big 12, TV games. It's going to bring eyes to those Big 12 TV games.
Dude, the Big 12 wants, through this change and through realignment, wants to be in a position to compete with the SEC week in and week out and every single year.
And they want to make Big 10 money.
Yeah.
Now, does the Big 12 ever get to a place where they're making $100 million? My guess is they will, but will it be soon? No. Will
you got to win to do that. You got to win to do that.
You do, but will Oklahoma and Texas be the talk of the town anytime soon in the SEC? No, they won't.
Based on somebody else's decision.
No, they won't. And this goes back to what we talk about with the Jazz all the time. Water your own grass.
Yes.
Make your situation better, because that's the only way to awesomeness.
Okay.
Okay, there
Good
you go.
talk. Okay.
Now I feel better.
Okay.
I cannot wait, by the way, for next week to get into the NFL.
Let's
Training
go.
camp's open next week.
Let's go.
But this morning, hello, Mrs. Monte.
Hello.
There she is. There she is. Miss America. I need to zoom in because you're looking robust in the
Wait, did you just call her fat?
No, she's got a huge rack. Wait, hang on.
Wait, Andy's
I
got to
did
turn your
not.
mic on.
No, I did not. I was.
Oh my God.
What? Women are only as good as their rack. What
Wow.
do you want from me? That's a joke. I'm kidding. That was
Spencer, relax.
Relax, Spencer Morgan,
Spencer,
relax.
Jesus. We're not backtracking again, okay?
I freely admit, if there's hell, I'm going to it. Cast and Kalen says, you got a huge rack. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. You know,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
You know,
good.
he also says, LMAO, Monty. Sorry. Look, I freely admit that I'm a child. Where's Greg Hawkins? Greg Hawkins says, he sends us a $5 tip. Appreciate that. He says, if you look past the trash-talking Twitter fans, most people from both sides on Utah and BYU are down with Utah going to the Big 12. Yes.
Well, how are you not down?
How are you not?
Like, how are you
Putting
not?
the rivalry game back in play every single year and having the conference implications. Can you imagine BYU and Utah playing for a Big 12 championship?
Dude.
I'm here for that. I am here for that.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes.
I am here for that.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate all of you. We are way late this morning, so we need to quickly get to the non-sports stories of the day. And I think we skip real estate today because it is National Mac and Cheese Day.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
You're a huge mac and cheese guy.
Hell yeah.
Creamy and delicious.
Okay.
Daddy.
Okay.
Anyway, what?
Wow.
How do you like your mac and cheese? I am very much not a, yes, hi, can we have lobster in our mac and cheese?
You're
no,
casual.
you can't. What you can have is creamy goodness all over your mouth.
Wow.
Seems like a great opportunity to slurp and splash.
Yes, it does. What you can have is thick, creamy cheese sauce with elbow macaroni. Couple of mac and cheese rules just to kind of set the bar at where it is.
Right.
We do not make mac and cheese with barbecue sauce. It's
What?
mac and cheese. Oh, that's a huge trend. It's mac and cheese. We make mac and cheese.
Like, replace the cheese with barbecue sauce?
Yes.
That's a thing?
Yes.
That's
That's called.
Whoa.
barbecue
That's,
pasta.
yeah, that's called.
barbecue
That's
pasta.
disgusting.
That's called spaghetti, friends. Okay.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese is with elbow macaroni. End of story.
Whoa. I disagree. Shells.
Okay, let's go ahead and where's her? Let's turn her mic off. Get her
It's
off
quite
camera.
simple, so I don't know why motherfuckers be
Um,
overcomplicating it.
It's
Shells
No.
that
No.
scoop up the cheese and hold it in their little shell shape.
Listen.
This
No.
is how you make mac and cheese better.
No, I guess not.
You understand? No, you don't. Clearly.
Where are we at on rigatoni as far as mac
no.
and cheese is
Come
concerned?
on.
I'm
now
just
you're
asking.
fired.
Stop it.
Jake,
I'm just
we
asking.
are trading Jake
I'm
for
just
6
asking.
listeners. We're trading
Look,
Jake.
Well, Spencer's the
Spen-
first round pick here, so
Yeah,
I mean, come
Spencer
on.
Morgan's going to replace Jake on the show tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm a
Good.
carb
We're
eating
good.
motherfucker.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, here are the
Okay.
rules.
Creamy
the
mac and
only,
cheese.
The
Shells.
only acceptable pasta is elbows. The only acceptable protein is ground turkey or ground beef in macaroni and cheese. No lobster, no chicken. That's called fettuccine. Okay? We don't put chicken in mac and cheese. And the other one that I saw on Google last night was peanut butter and jelly mac and cheese.
No. Stop.
Where you replace the cheese with
Dude.
peanut butter and jelly.
Stop, dude.
That's no longer mac and cheese. It's peanut butter and jelly mixed with pasta.
Bro.
It's mac
What are
and
we
cheese.
doing?
That's my question.
You know.
It's mac and cheese.
That makes me uncomfortable. Peanut butter and jelly with pasta.
I'll put peanut butter and jelly on just about anything.
Stop.
Oh,
mac
we
and
know.
cheese.
Gross.
We know.
Yeah, as you're well aware.
Wow.
My point is,
Right.
what's your favorite kind of macaroni and cheese? I have come around, thanks to our good friends at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I have come around to jalapeno mac and cheese a little bit. It's really tough to beat ground beef in macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, like a hamburger helper style.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And mac and cheese hamburger helper all day.
All day, dude.
You'll burn your mouth on it, but it's really good.
Yeah.
I'm the bougie asshole who wants the lobster, so that's fine.
Well, you can get waxed, and then it'll take care of that. My
Wow.
point is, what?
Wow.
What? I don't know what you mean.
Wow.
Anyway, my point is, mac
Sorry
and
to be offended
cheese.
by that.
Mac and cheese is macaroni cheese, and the only thing you add is beef.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
James Knight says Saudi stooge.
I'm not sure
Okay.
what that's.
Okay.
Okay. I like that. I do. Let's see. Let's get your mac and cheese comments in here. Uncle Dax says Parmesan crust.
Ooh.
That's good. I like the crust options.
I do like the crumble, like, you know,
Yes.
like the breadcrumbs on top to give it that little crunchiness on the top.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yes, I agree with that. James Knight says, do you guys understand the mac in the wording, fools? Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. It is mac and cheese. You know what I'm saying? And you know what?
Don't hate on the shells, man.
Cast Coolin says, nah, you tripping on jalapenos. Oh, it's good, dude. It's good. Dop Hop says hamburger helper is money. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Cast Coolin says meat and mac and cheese is bussin'. Yes, it is. Greg Hawkins says lobster mac and cheese is delicious.
Ding, ding. Greg and I can hang out. Yay.
His standards don't matter.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Cody Strickland for $2 tip says I put barbecue in leftover spaghetti, not ashamed.
Bro,
Wait,
I'm
whoa,
sorry, Cody.
whoa.
So wait, does the
You
spaghetti
put
have the red
barbecue
sauce?
Yeah, did it already
Did it already have sauce? Like, that's gnar, bro.
I'm confused.
I can't. I can't do that, Cody. I can't. Tanner says, LOL, you just realizing that, Cast Coolin? He may be. Giggity says, if you want shells, it's called shells and cheese. Thank you.
As opposed to what?
Mac and cheese. It's macaroni and cheese are elbows. If you want shells, it's called, go ahead and have some
Okay,
shells.
sure. We're just smarter and have
is
better
a
taste
tasty
shells
burger.
and cheese with lobster.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Gabe Ledley says mac and cheese on the smoker is legit. Yes.
Bomb.
Oh,
Bomb.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, we did that. But here's the problem though. Costco macaroni and cheese that you get cold, they make it and they put it in plastic now.
Yeah, it used to come in a tin.
It used to come in like an aluminum tin and now it comes in plastic.
Yeah.
So you can't. Okay. Oh. Sneakers
God, here
draw.
we go.
Sneakers
All right,
draw.
we're doing some cocaine on the show apparently. Which is our shoe draws.
Fuck off.
But anyways,
They don't make it in your size, huh?
no. They don't. It only goes up to a 14. So,
Would you like me to try and get the shoe for you?
yeah.
Okay,
I
what
would.
shoe is it? What are we talking about?
It's the Jordan Series Mid-X Mason.
Okay.
So-
Size 10. All right. God.
Costco has broken a cardinal rule, or cardinal rule, whatever.
Cardinal
Anyways,
rule.
but it's wrong, and they should be penalized for putting their
I'm
mac
sorry.
and cheese.
Did you say penis?
Penis? They should be penalized for doing
Wow.
That was money.
That's wrong. Now I have to put it in my own container. But I love mac and cheese on a smoker. You have to put it in the cast iron pan to do that right. Just saying.
It was
it's
good.
Beautiful.
It was really good. Honestly, it was really good.
None of the shoes that they are releasing today come in my size 15.
Well,
Is that the shoe gods trying to save me money?
yes, it is.
It is.
It is. You don't need those
All right.
shoes.
I'm just getting ready to have 2 losses. I'm preparing myself mentally for the 2 losses.
You know,
So
it is really,
But
really
that's
frustrating.
okay. All right, back
they
to
don't
food.
make it. Yeah, back to food.
Focus.
What are you guys? Where do you guys come down on it? I think this is the thing. When I say what is your favorite food, like what do you
Mexican
guys?
food. Mexican
So it's
food
Mexican
all day.
Like, is it tacos? You're a chicken burrito guy. We go to like taco surf in Huntington Beach, and you're like, oh yeah, chicken burrito.
Pipeline burrito, bro. I mean, it's just not. It's not hard.
If it's last meal kind of stuff, we're talking about.
Well,
like
okay,
it is
then
your
steak
last
and
meal,
potatoes.
you are dying.
Yeah, steak and potatoes.
Ooh.
Steak and potatoes.
Yeah, dude. Come on.
Man, it would have to be maybe like a fish, like a halibut, like a really well done macadamia crusted halibut.
Nah,
Like-
are you really?
I did. I went there.
does that?
Okay, listen. I'm not having fish as my last meal. I'm not.
What a loser.
I'm not. I'm gonna do a balloon.
No, I'm
gonna
not.
I'm gonna do an
He's
absolute.
like a tomahawk steak.
Well, not even a ton. No, but like I'm probably having a good Italian dish of some kind.
Where's the Italian?
I'm having homemade. I'm bringing back one of my dead aunts from the grave to make me homemade lasagna.
Enough carbonara to cause a heart attack.
Yeah, I would love my last meal being carbonara. Would not be the end of the world.
No,
it would
wouldn't.
not. I would actually do that. I would do carbonara and the world's largest side of tiramisu.
That would be amazing.
I'm totally down for that. But I love Asian food. So sushi, I could eat sushi. I could eat tofu,
pot stickers,
stir fry,
pot stickers. If you want,
in. Egg rolls.
Listen, Linda. If you want to hand me some shrimp fried rice with extra shrimp, what was the name of that Chinese restaurant by our old house in Phoenix on Baseline?
Asian Sun Kitchen, something like that.
We're getting somewhere.
The best, but I'm going Italian.
Shrimp fried rice.
I'm going to need shrimp fried rice is bomb. It would be amazing. So I think I would go with. I lost every one of the draws.
Yeah,
already, by the way.
come on.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I would go with an Italian.
Find out.
It tells me you're dumb and Nike hates you. Let's see. Talking with Raphael podcast. All meat, pork, chicken, steak, all the seafood, some pasta. Okay. Giggity says, where's the best Chinese in Salt Lake City?
Don't know.
That's I don't know. Is
There's
there
not
great
a great
Chinese in Salt Lake
spot
City?
in Salt
What's
Lake.
the place in Riverton, Mrs. Monty? What do you look? You look distracted. What's the matter?
No.
Yeah, you're terrible.
Got the L.
True. What's
Okay.
that place we go to? The Chinese place over by Five Guys there. I don't remember. I can't remember the name of the place.
Damn
But
it.
there's not a lot, Giggity. Honest to God.
It's really good though.
Yeah. Ooh.
I'll look it up for you.
New York Jazz fan. Yes. The ribs at PF Chang's are money.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. J-Rod says it'll be Big 20 when all said and done. LOL.
Seriously.
You know. Greg says Giggity Hero Hot Pot. Everybody says Hero Hot Pot. Wow, look at you, Uncle Dax, with a $50 tip.
Thanks,
Let's
bro.
go.
Damn.
Let's go, Uncle
Okay,
Dax. Appreciate
okay.
you, my man.
Feeling the
Appreciate
love.
you. James Knight says, do you guys have Mexican chain Guzman y Gomez?
No, we do not.
No.
We just got it down here. We don't.
Is it good?
Yeah, tell us all about it. Uncle Dax says, guys, we must get Mrs. Monty a new chair that fits her values of the show. Come on. She's rocking a DX racer chair. Yeah, what's wrong? Are you kidding me?
It has a headrest.
That chair is remarkably comfortable.
Comfortable.
It's a gaming chair.
It is a gaming chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Dog O-Town says, let's see, what does he say here? Spaghetti is my favorite. So many options with various veggies and meats. Made some last night. About to have breakfast right now. My man. Greg Hawkins says, all other Chinese is basically Americanized variations of orange chicken and beef and broccoli.
It's not a lie. He doesn't lie.
But there's nothing like a well-done spring roll, a veggie spring roll. Oh, so good. But again, if there's one restaurant I'm going to in Salt Lake, it's Red Iguana.
Yeah.
I love Red Iguana Mexican food. Yes, Mrs. Monty?
Okay, I have located the place that we like. It's J&C House. That's the place that we got the actual good, like Japanese,
J&C House.
J&C
Okay.
House.
All right. Yeah.
I'm just
Okay.
spreading the love.
Okay.
It was delicious.
All right. Tanner says, I think Mrs. Monty, that chair fits Mrs. Monty just fine.
Hey, guys.
Fat Jesus says she blends into the chair. We need that beauty to pop. Hey,
I
baby.
think that maybe if it was like a really high-backed, maybe velvet
Crown?
chair, with the tufting.
Crown?
That might fit better.
Okay. DBTZ says, Red Corner China Diner. Never heard of it.
Red Corner. Huh.
Never heard of it. Don't know it.
Sounds good.
Cody Strickland says, Uncle Dax is mad. He meant a $5 tip. LOL. Well, can't unwind that watch, can you?
Is that true?
No, I don't think he meant that. I would hope,
Yeah, I mean, we can't unwind that.
Can't
Sorry,
unwind
bud.
the watch. I don't
Sorry,
know how
dude.
to do that.
Yeah, we're not good at backtracking.
And Garcia says, camera is high for Mrs. Monty. Is it?
High?
No, you know what? No, I think
No,
he's saying
y-
no.
yeah, no.
I don't
What?
think it's like
no,
really
he's scheming.
actually
He's
high.
scheming.
He's scheming.
He's scheming.
He wants to see her lady bits.
He's scheming.
Schemers trying to
Guys.
control their
Schemers.
little world.
Guys,
You know.
guys.
Oh, and Garcia, you pervert, Tanner says.
Yeah, schemer.
Roll the
Schemers.
music. We
Thanks
got to
for
roll.
having me back, Tanner.
Yeah, Tanner. By the way, RSL looked awful last night. Again. Anyway, hey, show's over. Thank you so much for being here. If you're here right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the show. Please give us a thumbs up. There's Mrs. Monty begging you.
Wow.
Click our affiliate links below. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.